Hello guys, I have been reading a lot of articles on the Russian economy because I have a question. What ruins it better, Ukrainian drone strikes on oil refineries or Western sanctions? Because I expect more drone attacks to come and fewer sanctions from the White House. And it was actually interesting to discover which spheres of the Russian economy and the Russian business are the weakest now. And of course, this is oil refining, coal mining, aviation, railroad, construction, and many more, you'd be surprised to hear. And it was also important to discover what things irritate ordinary Russians who describe themselves either as apolitical or supported Putin's failed blitzkrieg. What now irritates them, worries them most about the Russian economy. And traditionally, these are rising prices, inability to pay for your household, restrictions on various banking services, a permission of the Kremlin to freeze your bank accounts without the decision of the court, and new communication restrictions that we will discuss too, because this demonstrates the need to impose censorship. And you clearly understand when we speak about hiding the truth, we obviously understand that the truth is very striking for the Russian population, and all because of sanctions and drones. Let me know in the comments below, how do you think? What ruins Russian economy faster? Our strikes or your sanctions? My name is Anna, I'm from Ukraine, I'm in Ukraine, and if you want to see the defeat and demilitarization of Russia, that is the only working peace plan, subscribe, we will discuss that on the channel soon. This year turned out to be very problematic for the Russian economy. Of course, they did not plan a blitzkrieg to last for almost 4 years. They did not have that many resources, but at least for the first years, it was possible to fuel this economy with new military tasks, with more people joining the Russian army, paying them more money, and thus creating this effect of working Russian economy. But it is totally exhausted. And Putin, who traveled to China mainly to discuss various banking opportunities, returns back to Russia with nothing. Because the Chinese leader, supporting Putin's war, supporting the change of the world order, does not support any help in the banking system that Russia wanted. This is one of the main restrictions, one of the most important sanctions imposed in 2023 by the United States that led to tremendous losses for the Russian budget. Right now, they cannot use the majority of payment systems, and they wanted to persuade China to let them use Union Pay, to let them use Mir cards, and they received no. But in this context, the amount of problems they amass, and it's super important to understand which parts of the Russian economy, of the Russian production fell out first, because mainly on the channel we talked about this personal Russian observations, but I think it's important to look from this panoramic perspective. So oil sanctions, long and extremely big, exhausting war, led to cutting down on different non-military spheres of economy, like construction, like textiles, like coal mining, like railway and aviation, that first were restricted by sanctions and inability to maintain aviation, for example, but now are the results of war back to the Russian Federation, with dozens of their regions as a no-fly zone. And it's super important to speak the truth. So subscribe, share these videos to demonstrate your solidarity with Ukraine. And today I'm super excited and very nervous to announce a new series on my new channel, Anna Danilchuk, where you will see what kind of teacher I am, because I will introduce you to the basics of the language and war. Here I connect the first video, which demonstrates the difference between a peace deal, a ceasefire, and a truce. Because when you support Ukraine, when you speak about that, be careful to choose the right terms, because Otherwise, we can achieve something contrary to what we want. Let me know what do you think about the video in comments. So, the symptoms of these problems, of course, the recession, and the central bank and the Ministry of Finance officially spoke about that. They are not hiding this truth. But also a lot of top managers of various Russian companies that jump out of windows, literally, or drink some bad tea, or do something else. We may speak about a lot of Russian top managers and even top politicians like the ministers leaving Russia for hell. I don't know how to be more sensitive with YouTube. So all of these problems kept amassing, and only military industries, they could not save the Russian Federation. Plus, in the context of very serious workforce shortages, because right now Russia does everything to send more people to war, but at the same time it is very expensive for them because the salaries that Russian war criminals receive for looting in Ukraine, for killing Ukrainian people, are very, very high. And there is a moment in time when they won't be able to pay the sums of money they want, and fewer people will join the army. We observe this tendency right now. That's why they speak about the need for the next conscription, but they are afraid of that, and they start ordering more and more North Korean soldiers. Yes, this is not a sign of strength. Of course, that is an escalation, that is a very dangerous precedent, but at the same time, that is a demonstration of Putin's weakness. And he smiles, and his reactions on that meetings in China with Xi, with Kim Jong-un, are a proof that Russia is back home to this old-style political system. And I don't know what made so many leaders of Europe, the United States, for decades believe that Russia is a European country. It's not. It's back home to this golden horde style management. And in this context, they still look very vulnerable and very weak. And trust me, Xi Jinping, Kim Jong-un see how Russian oil refineries burn. You can see it from the satellite images. You can see it because they banned the export. You can see it because of the fuel crisis and more evidence. So they don't treat Putin anymore as a partner, but more as a vassal. Vassal, is that the word that you have, like a means subordinate to a feudal or something like that? So with no flights inside Russia, with serious problems and tremendous drop in rail, road, logistics, and coal production, oil production, all that Russia has left is to sell this oil before it gets to refineries for a very low price, just like a resource, not like an oil product. And that is a reason why they start implementing more and more censorship inside the Russian Federation. They introduced a new Messenger Max that people are obliged to install. Every new smartphone that they get in Russia must have it. If you work for the state, you must have it. Schools must use it. And let me know, by the way, would you like a separate video about these new restrictions that appear inside Russia and that actually cause dissatisfaction of the traditionally extremely passive, extremely apolitical Russian population. And what triggers them most right now is this censorship that reminds Soviet times now. That is inability to pay for their household because the prices keep rising. That is inability to get gasoline when they can. And businesses are destroyed, especially if we're talking about mid-size, small-size businesses, because of growing prices on the resources that they need because of lack of gasoline and many more, and also because of banks imposing more and more restrictions, having the ability to freeze the accounts, and according to rumors inside Russia, they are preparing more taxes for such businesses that will simply destroy them. Maybe Putin hopes that will bring more poor people to the Russian army, but I personally believe that with more Ukrainian drone sanctions on Russian oil refineries, they simply won't have with what to fuel that military machine, what to pay these potential war criminals. And I would like to sum it all up with the conclusion that the majority of articles come to: Ukrainian drone sanctions are more effective than sanctions, traditional sanctions, but combined, they are deadly for the Russian economy, and thus the defeat and the demilitarization of this federation will happen even faster. Subscribe to witness that together. Remember to subscribe to my Anna Danilchuk channel to learn more language together. I'm so excited. I'm so nervous to watch it. Subscribe to my X, Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, Discord, all the links in the description of this video, same as the link to our merch shop, where we have a lot of good products that work well as reminders and conversation starters about Ukraine and help you become our ambassadors literally in every corner of the world. It's an honor, same as an honor to have you as sponsors, patrons, and thank you for buying me coffees, for helping me write, film more, and do some research as for our new linguistic series. Love you a lot. United we stand. Slava Ukraini!